So on February 8th, the Bulls announced that Lauri Markkanen would be out for 2 to 4 weeks due to a shoulder injury he had sustained in a game against the Orlando Magic, which was a blow to the Bulls considering that at the time, Wendell Carter Jr. and of course Otto Porter were also out due to injury, and taking away another big man, forcing the Bulls to play small ball and going with their big man reserves in Daniel Gafford, Felicio, and Cornet, which obviously was going to be a challenge to say the least in terms of their inside play. But we're sitting here now at 4 weeks, and we have yet to receive an update on Lauri Markkanen's status, at least at the time of this recording, with the Bulls' first game back from the All-Star break on Thursday. So what's going on, everyone? You're listening to Bulls Central here. Hope you're all doing well. Now, as you guys know, I am a big fan of Lauri Markkanen. I think he's a player with a unique skill set in being a 7-foot big man that can stretch the floor, but also has the ability to power his way to the basket. Obviously, he does have a lot of areas needed for improvement, like his defense, his post-up game, developing his ability to create his own shot. So I'm not saying he's a star player by any means, not as of right now anyway. But with the skills he has, he fits perfectly in today's NBA. And I see a lot of potential from him in the coming years, but obviously the million-dollar question is, can he stay healthy? As of right now, Lauri has missed roughly 30% of his total available games in his career, and although none of his injuries throughout his career have been serious ones to where it sidelined him for, say, a half a season or a full season, but it is concerning to see him continuing to have these freak injuries that sideline him for weeks at a time. And I really hate when people continue to call him soft, weak, or a cupcake, because first of all, he would destroy any of us if you want to talk about how weak he is, but also he has been much more aggressive and driving to the paint than he did last season, and actually bodying up and playing decent defense against some of these other bigs in the league. There was an interesting stat that Rob Schaefer had put out there, and it was in regards to efficiency on cuts, which some of these advanced stats metrics are so specific that it's pretty funny, but I am a nerd and love stats. And in this one, you can see that the Bulls rank third in the league in efficiency on cuts, that is measured by PPP, shooting 71.8% on these plays. And the guys on the Bulls roster who lead the way in PPP on 19 possessions, you're looking at Lauri Markkanen is 1.63 in the 97th percentile. Now, Levine is obviously more impressive given this is based on 39 possessions, despite his PPP and percentile being slightly lower. And then you can also see Satoransky is in there as well. But the point of this is more on the fact that Markkanen has been more aggressive in cutting and getting to the basket or getting open looks for a mid-range jumper, and the Bulls have played very well when he's been on the court. There's no denying that, especially when you look at his player efficiency rating and his offensive box plus minus when on the court. The overall value that he brings is significant. Now, I've already mentioned plenty of times over the course of the videos that I've made previously around the difficult decisions for the front office on whether to potentially trade Lauri if there is concern that some team might overpay him as a restricted free agent, and then the Bulls would be forced to match or let him walk for nothing. Or you trade him, try to get some value for him in return before the deadline if they do suspect that that would happen. Now, I am of the opinion, with Markkanen still being out and not seeing action on the court, his trade value is rather low right now than, say, at the beginning of the year. So in my view, it's worth keeping him, seeing how he performs when he returns. If he keeps up the play that he has been doing, then great, you extend him an offer or you match an offer to keep him. Or if he doesn't play and gets injured yet again, then you cut your losses and you let him walk in free agency. Sometimes that's just the nature of the business. It's always great to say in hindsight, well, we should have traded him to get some kind of value before we let him leave. But then there's also the risk that you trade him and he goes on to be a star player once he fully recovers from his injuries. What's been strange to me is that we have yet to see any kind of status update on Lauri, just 2 days before we face the Sixers. If you remember, initially it was expected that Markkanen would be back closer to the 2-week mark of the 2 to 4 week timeline. And then that kept getting pushed out more and more. Then Billy Donovan mentioned that it was unlikely he would return before the All-Star break. He was actually listed as doubtful for that last game against the Pelicans before he was officially ruled out. So the expectation was that, well, an additional week off of no games from the All-Star break, Lauri would be back to start the second half of the season. But still, Nothing from the Bulls organization has been shared on his health, and it's possible I just haven't looked hard enough. But if you saw my video I uploaded this morning, I do only focus on credible news sources for this type of information. And again, at least at the time of this recording, nothing has been shared about Markkanen, not even if he's been practicing with the team, playing full contact, any of that. And it does have me a little concerned that his timeline for return has been delayed. The only benefit I really see out of this for his timeline being delayed further is that it doesn't make Lauri look as attractive to other teams when he hits free agency, which means the Bulls are less likely to have to match an offer that is above Markkanen's value, which I know is something that a lot of Bulls fans are concerned about. So they could get Markkanen for a reasonable rate as a restricted free agent, and then hopefully that deal turns out to be a steal years down the line, kind of like how they did with Zach LaVine's contract, which the Bulls had to match when he was a restricted free agent. And looking at it now, it's a bargain based on the player that he's become. Obviously, I would just rather have Markkanen come back healthy and strong and playing at the highest level possible, especially if the Bulls start making a push for the playoffs towards the end of the season. But in any event, I'm just keeping my eyes out and waiting for any credible news sources from Markkanen on when we can expect him back in the lineup. Let me know what you guys think though. Do you think at this point it's whatever and you're viewing Lauri as a lost cause because of his injuries? Or are you holding out and hoping he comes back strong and shows that he is capable of being a reliable big man who can spread the floor? Let me know in the comments. Also, tomorrow is our weekly Wednesday Bulls hot takes video, so be sure to include hot takes in the comments to be featured in tomorrow's video, where I'll provide my thoughts and reactions to them. As always, be sure to subscribe if you're a Bulls fan, as I post daily Bulls content, sometimes twice a day. And thanks again for tuning in, guys, as always, and I will catch you in the next one.